In human health news tonight, a Harvard professor is calling coconut oil, quote, pure poison.
That's the headline no one wants to see about a product they're using daily. But you might be cooking with it right now. Your kids might be eating it. And some of these brands had nearly 15,000 pounds of moldy oil on store shelves before anyone noticed. Today, I'm exposing 10 of the worst coconut oil brands you need to avoid, plus 4 actually safe alternatives at the end. Let's get into it. 10. Garden of Life Raw Extra Virgin Coconut Oil. Garden of Life positions themselves as the premium choice for people serious about clean eating. They're all over health food stores with their raw and extra virgin labels plastered across everything. The packaging screams purity. It says organic. It says raw. It says extra virgin. It practically screams, I'm the healthiest option on the shelf. Well, independent testing found 653 parts per billion of phthalates in their coconut oil. Now that's actually on the lower end of the contaminated brands we're covering, but you're paying $15 to $20 for this jar. You're paying premium prices specifically because of all those health claims on the label. Raw suggests it's minimally processed. Extra virgin implies the highest quality and purity, but the oil still has over 5 times the phthalate levels of the safest brands. The real issue here is the disconnect between marketing and reality. When a brand charges premium prices and uses terms like raw and extra virgin to suggest superior purity, you expect that to mean something real. You expect actual testing and quality control that delivers on those promises. Instead, you're getting marketing language that sounds healthy but doesn't translate to actually safer products. At least Garden of Life's contamination levels aren't the worst we'll see, but this next brand takes fancy marketing to another level. Number 9. Luran Gel Organic Virgin Coconut Oil. You've probably seen this one at Whole Foods with its fancy French packaging and artisanal branding. Beautiful glass bottle, premium price tag around 15 bucks. The label looks like it belongs in a gourmet cooking magazine. Everything about it screams quality and sophistication. Feels trustworthy, right? Like you're making a premium choice? Well, independent lab testing found 731 parts per billion of phthalates in this oil. That's higher than Garden of Life, and we're starting to see a pattern here. Now, what are phthalates? They're endocrine-disrupting chemicals that mess with your hormones. We're talking fertility issues, metabolic problems, thyroid dysfunction. These chemicals literally mimic estrogen in your body and throw everything off balance. And even that beautiful glass bottle didn't protect the oil from contamination during processing and storage. The damage was already done before it ever got bottled. Maybe you passed over cheaper options thinking you were investing in your health. But the reality is you're getting nearly double the phthalate levels of the safest brands. Not exactly what you signed up for when you grabbed the artisanal French brand with the vintage-looking label. But if fancy European branding doesn't guarantee safety, what about brands making specific health promises? Number 8. Barlins Organic Coconut Oil. Barlins got hit with legal challenges over their labeling and health benefit claims. They were making assertions about their coconut oil that they couldn't back up scientifically or legally, claims that went beyond what's permitted for food products. And customers were paying $18 to $22 based on those unverified claims. People bought this oil thinking it would deliver specific health benefits that Barlins promised but couldn't prove. Look, if a brand is willing to stretch the truth on their marketing, what else aren't they telling you? If they'll make claims they can't substantiate just to move product, where else are they being dishonest? The legal system had to step in and force them to modify their labels. Testing showed their oil falls in the 700 to 800 parts per billion range for phthalates. Not the worst on this list, but definitely problematic. And combined with the legal issues over false advertising, that's not a company I want to trust with something I'm putting in my body every day. Speaking of brands with questionable histories, let's talk about a name that built its reputation on heavily processed oils. 7. Crisco Refined Organic Coconut Oil. Yeah, Crisco makes coconut oil now. Let that sink in for a moment. The same company famous for partially hydrogenated oils and trans fats decided to jump on the coconut oil bandwagon. The brand that became synonymous with everything wrong with processed oils in the 80s and 90s now wants you to trust them with your healthy fat intake. Testing of Crisco's coconut oil showed it contained 910 parts per billion of phthalates, almost at the 1,000 mark. And here's what gets me. They slap organic on the label like that magically makes it healthy. Like organic certification erases decades of producing some of the most heavily processed oils in American food history. Organic certification doesn't prevent chemical contamination during heavy processing. It just means the coconuts weren't grown with synthetic pesticides. What happens to those coconuts after harvest? That's a whole different story. Crisco built their reputation on highly refined, heavily processed oils. Their entire business model is industrial-scale oil processing. Why would their coconut oil be any different? It wouldn't. And the test results prove it. This oil goes through intense refining, heating to high temperatures, bleaching, deodorizing. Each step introduces more opportunities for contamination. You're basically getting industrially processed coconut oil with an organic label slapped on it. That organic label is doing a lot of heavy lifting to distract you from what this product actually is. At least Crisco doesn't pretend to be premium, but our next brand charges premium prices and uses fancy labels to justify them. But wait, if you're finding this information valuable, hit that subscribe button. I'm investigating more food safety issues every week, and trust me, you need to know what's really in your kitchen. These companies are betting you won't do this research. Let's prove them wrong. And tell me in the comments, which brand of coconut oil do you use? I'd like to know. All right, let's keep going. Number 6, Tropical Traditions Gold Label Virgin Coconut Oil. Gold label. Let's talk about what that means. In marketing terms, it means premium, it means superior, it means you should pay more. And boy, do they charge more. We're talking $20 to $25 a jar. They market themselves as the gold standard of coconut oil, the choice for people who refuse to compromise on quality, the kind of product that health-conscious consumers proudly display on their countertops. So you'd expect near-perfect purity, right? You'd expect that premium price to come with premium quality. EPA-certified laboratories found 974 parts per billion of phthalates in the gold label oil, just shy of 1,000. For a product marketed as superior quality, that's embarrassing. You're paying double or triple what other brands charge, and you're getting contamination levels that are nearly 8 times higher than the safest option. Their loyal customers feel betrayed, and rightfully so. These are people who specifically sought out Tropical Traditions because they wanted the best. They believed the gold label meant something real, and then independent testing reveals their premium oil is nearly as contaminated as budget brands that cost a third of the price. You don't charge premium prices and deliver contamination levels this high. That's not how this is supposed to work. And if misleading premium labels weren't bad enough, the next brand uses contradictory marketing terms that make no sense at all. Number 5, Better Body Foods. Naturally refined organic coconut oil. Let's talk about that name for a second. Naturally refined. Listen to that phrase again slowly. Naturally refined. That's an oxymoron. Those two words contradict each other. Refining is an industrial process. There's nothing natural about it. You can't naturally refine something. Refinement by definition means you're using industrial processes to alter the oil. They're using marketing doublespeak to make you think their heavily processed oil is somehow wholesome. It's the same psychological trick as all natural on processed foods. They're hoping the word naturally will make you overlook the word refined. And honestly, it probably works on most people who grab this off the shelf at Walmart. The reality is 331 parts per billion of phthalates. We've officially crossed into 4-digit contamination territory. That's more than 10 times. What you'll find in the safest brands. The refinement process involves heating to high temperatures, bleaching with chemicals, and deodorizing to remove the coconut smell, which actually increases contamination opportunities. Each industrial step introduces more chances for chemicals to leach into your oil. So you're getting the worst of both worlds. Industrial processing that strips away beneficial nutrients and introduces more chemicals. The refining removes the good stuff like antioxidants and vitamin E, while adding in hormone-disrupting phthalates. And they're selling this at Walmart and Amazon, which means millions of people are exposed to these elevated levels without having any idea. This is sitting on shelves at the biggest retailers in America, and people are grabbing it thinking the organic label means it's safe. But if you think 331 parts per billion is bad, wait until you see what took the top spot for chemical contamination. 4. Azure Market Organic Coconut Oil. Here's your champion. Azure Market tested at 506 parts per billion of phthalates, the highest level found among all tested brands. Let that sink in for a moment. This is catastrophically bad. This is nearly 12 times higher than the safest option we'll talk about later. You're getting massive daily exposure to chemicals linked to infertility, diabetes, obesity, cardiovascular disease, and developmental problems in children. These are documented health impacts from phthalate exposure. Studies show these chemicals accumulate in your body over time, and despite all this, they slap organic on the label and position themselves in health food stores. They're in the wellness section. People buy this thinking they're making the healthy choice, the informed choice. They're probably paying extra for it because it's organic. How does something marketed as a health product end up being the most contaminated option on the market? How does organic certification allow for 1/106 parts per billion of endocrine disruptors? Because organic certification only covers how the coconuts are grown. It says nothing about what happens during processing, storage, and packaging. And that's where all this contamination is coming from. If you're using this oil daily in your coffee for cooking, on your skin, you're getting concentrated exposure to the worst contamination levels available. And you probably had no idea until right now. At least chemical contamination is invisible. But our next brand had a problem you could literally see with your own eyes. That's the 3. Natural Grocers Organic Extra Virgin Coconut Oil. In 2020, the FDA issued a Class 2 recall for Natural Grocers coconut oil. What was the reason? Mold contamination. We're not talking about a small batch here. About 1,463 pounds of moldy coconut oil made it to store shelves and into people's homes. That's 7.5 tons. 7.5 tons of contaminated product that somehow passed through production, quality control, distribution, and shelf stocking before anyone caught it. Think about that for a second. Someone opened a jar expecting to improve their health and found visible mold instead. Can you imagine? You're making your morning smoothie or cooking dinner, you open your coconut oil and there's mold growing in it. Consuming moldy oil can cause severe nausea, vomiting, diarrhea, respiratory problems, and in people with compromised immune systems, it can cause serious infections. Some molds produce mycotoxins, which are toxic compounds that can cause liver damage and other serious health issues. This was full-blown visible mold that anyone could see. How does this happen? Mold grows when there's moisture contamination during processing or storage. It means somewhere in their production chain, water got into the oil and nobody noticed. Temperature controls failed, quality inspections failed. Multiple checkpoints that should have caught this problem all failed simultaneously, and 14,163 pounds of contaminated product made it to consumers. This wasn't even Natural Grocers' only coconut product issue. They had a separate salmonella contamination recall for their coconut products in 2018 that resulted in actual documented illnesses. 6 people got sick. When you see the same company having multiple serious safety violations across different products in different years, that's a company with fundamental quality control problems they haven't fixed. At least Natural Grocers issued a recall when they found the problem. But what happens when a major retailer gets caught making false claims and has to pay up? Number 2. Costco Kirkland Organic Coconut Oil. Costco settled a class action lawsuit for $775,000 over misleading labeling claims on their Kirkland coconut oil. Let me repeat that number, $750,000. Companies don't pay out $775,000 settlements over nothing. This wasn't a frivolous lawsuit that got dismissed. This was serious enough that Costco's lawyers looked at the evidence and said, "We need to settle this now." The lawsuit challenged what healthy means on their packaging and accused them of making unsubstantiated health claims that weren't backed by science. They were putting claims on the label that made people think this oil had specific health benefits that Costco couldn't actually prove. And Costco has massive distribution. Hundreds of warehouses nationwide, millions of jars sold. This was one of America's most trusted retailers, misleading consumers on a massive scale. People specifically chose this product because of those health claims on the label. They trusted the Kirkland brand. They read healthy on the packaging and believed Costco had done their homework. They paid for Costco memberships partly because they believe Costco vets their products and only sells quality items. That trust was violated, and the legal system determined those claims were misleading enough to warrant a $775,000 settlement plus attorney fees. When you settle for that amount, you're not settling because you did nothing wrong. You're settling because continuing to fight would expose worse problems or cost even more money. Costco's legal team ran the numbers and decided paying $750,000 was the better option than going to trial. Think about what you know about Costco. They're notoriously protective of their reputation. They have famously generous return policies because they value customer trust. For them to settle for $775,000 means the evidence against them was solid enough that they couldn't risk a trial. The modified labels you see now exist because a lawsuit forced Costco to be honest. But as serious as a $7,000 to $75,000 settlement is, nothing compares to getting an official warning letter from the federal government. Number 1. Carrington Farms coconut oil. The FDA doesn't mess around with warning letters. They're not sent casually. They're reserved for serious violations that pose public health risks and violate federal law. Carrington Farms received an official FDA warning letter for making illegal disease treatment claims about their coconut oil. Not just aggressive marketing, not just puffery, illegal disease treatment claims. They weren't just saying heart-healthy fats or supports wellness. They crossed the line into asserting their oil could treat or prevent specific diseases. Under federal law, when you claim a food treats, cures, or prevents disease, it becomes an unapproved drug under the Federal Food, Drug, and Cosmetic Act. And selling unapproved drugs is a serious federal violation that can lead to criminal charges. Why does this matter so much? Because sick people bought this product thinking it would help treat their conditions. Someone dealing with diabetes or heart disease or an infection saw those claims and thought, this will help me. Some may have delayed actual medical treatment because they believed these false claims. They relied on coconut oil instead of seeing a doctor or taking prescribed medication because Carrington Farms told them this oil had therapeutic effects. That's genuinely dangerous. That's potentially life-threatening when people with serious medical conditions are making healthcare decisions based on false claims from a coconut oil company. The FDA stepped in because this represented a real public health threat. And on top of the FDA warning, they also had a voluntary recall in 2016 for off odor in multiple batches. Products were smelling rancid or wrong. So we've got federal regulatory violations for illegal medical claims, plus separate quality control failures that led to a product recall. That's the complete package of everything wrong with this industry. The FDA warning letter is public record. You can look it up yourself. It's not going away. Even though Carrington Farms modified their labeling after the warning, that violation is permanently on their record. And honestly, once a company shows you they're willing to make illegal medical claims and risk federal prosecution just to move more product, why would you ever trust them again? Now, these 10 brands are some of the worst ones, but not all coconut oil brands are like these. Some have actually passed rigorous safety testing and have clean regulatory records. Here are 4 of them. But first, if you're seriously considering having your coconut oil tested, hit that like button and subscribe. Also, I'd like to know in the comments, which of these 10 brands have you used, and will you keep using them after today? Now on to the good ones. Number 1. Dr. Bronner's Virgin Coconut Oil. And here's your top pick. Dr. Bronner's tested at 126 parts per billion of phthalates, the absolute lowest level found in all independent testing. That's 92% lower contamination than Azure Market. But the low contamination is just the beginning of why this brand stands out. Dr. Bronner's has a perfect safety record spanning over 75 years. In an industry where even major brands are getting slapped with FDA warnings and million-dollar lawsuits, Dr. Bronner's has maintained a spotless record since 1948. They're regenerative organic certified, which is the highest agricultural standard that exists. Regenerative agriculture focuses on soil health, biodiversity, and carbon sequestration. Healthier soil produces cleaner coconuts with fewer pest and disease problems, which means less need for any interventions. They have direct partnerships with farming communities in Sri Lanka and the Philippines, and the company publishes third-party testing results publicly on their website. They're not hiding anything or hoping you won't ask questions. If there's ever a concerning result, they publish it and explain what they're doing about it. Yes, it costs $12 to $18, which is $4 to $8 more than budget brands. But break down what you're actually paying for. If you use 1 tablespoon daily, a jar lasts about 28 days. That's 43 to 64 cents per day for the absolute cleanest, safest coconut oil available. That's less than a cup of coffee, less than a bottle of water at a gas station. Number 2. Island Fresh Organic Coconut Oil. This is Walmart's house brand, and before you judge it based on that, listen to these numbers. 135 parts per billion of phthalates. That's 91% lower than Azure Market's contamination levels. It's virgin, cold-pressed, single origin, and costs $6 to $9 for a 16-ounce jar. That's roughly 38 to 56 cents per ounce. Compare that to premium brands charging $1 or more per ounce with higher contamination levels. The track record is clean, and they have consistently low contamination across multiple testing rounds. This proves you don't need to spend a fortune to get safe coconut oil. Sometimes the budget option is actually the smart choice. Number 3. Nutiva Organic Virgin Coconut Oil. Now, this is important. I'm specifically recommending their virgin coconut oil, not their refined products. There's a big difference. Nutiva's virgin oil tested at 387 parts per billion of phthalates, still in the low category and significantly better than anything on our avoid list. They've got strong third-party certifications backing up their claims: USDA Organic, Non-GMO Project Verified, Fair Trade Certified, and they're a certified B Corporation. That last one matters because B Corp are legally required to consider social and environmental impact alongside profit. Nutritionists and health professionals consistently recommend this brand. Price ranges from $10 to $15 at major retailers like Target, Walmart, Whole Foods, and Amazon. Their virgin line has maintained consistent quality without the issues some of their other products have had. Don't grab their refined versions thinking all Nutiva products are the same. Just stick with the virgin oil, and you're good. Narcy 4. Spectrum Organic Virgin Coconut Oil. Spectrum tested at 361 parts per billion of phthalates. That's 76% less contamination than Azure Market's catastrophic levels. It's cold-pressed, which means no high-heat processing that can create or concentrate contaminants. It's unrefined, so it maintains the natural antioxidants and vitamin E that get stripped out during refinement. And most importantly, they've got a completely clean regulatory record. It's widely available at Target, Walmart, and Whole Foods for around $8 to $12. This is on shelves at stores you probably already shop at. It's certified USDA Organic and Non-GMO Project Verified, which means third-party organizations have verified their claims. This is a solid entry-level safe option without breaking the bank. So there you have it. 10 coconut oil brands with serious phthalate contamination, mold recalls, and even a $775,000 lawsuit settlement, and 4 safe and better alternatives. That consistently prove they can be trusted. The thing is, organic labels don't guarantee purity. They only cover how the coconuts were grown. Premium prices don't guarantee safety. Testing does. Now go check your pantry. If you've got any of those 10 brands, make the switch. And tell me in the comments, were you shocked to see any of these 10 brands on the list? If this video helped you avoid putting your health at risk, smash that like button and subscribe so you don't miss me exposing these food companies every week. Share it with your family and friends. They're probably using one of these brands without knowing any of this. Thanks for watching, and I'll see you in the next one.